The atmosphere inside the arena was electric, as two fighters from different paths prepared to collide in the ring. In one corner stood South Africa's experienced veteran, Xolisani Ndongeni, a tough competitor with a long professional record, and the reputation of a man who never backed down from a challenge. Across from him stood Armenia's rising undefeated contender, Hovhannes Bachkov, an Olympic bronze medalist whose amateur career had been filled with both glory and heartbreak. Bachkov had spent years competing against the best fighters in the world, often reaching the semifinals of major tournaments, only to settle for bronze medals. Those experiences shaped him into a determined and disciplined fighter, who carried unfinished ambition into the professional ranks. As the introductions echoed through the arena, both fighters appeared calm but focused. Ndongeni knew he had the advantage of experience, having fought many battles across a long career. Bachkov, however, had youth, speed, and an undefeated record that made him one of the most promising prospects in the division. When the bell rang, the contrast in styles immediately became clear. Bachkov stepped forward behind a tight guard, elbows tucked close to his ribs and hands protecting his head, moving like a calculated hunter. Ndongeni circled carefully, testing the distance with small feints and quick steps. The first exchanges were cautious but sharp. Bachkov flicked a probing jab, while Ndongeni responded with a quick counter combination, signaling that he would not be intimidated. The crowd watched closely as the two men measured each other, knowing that beneath the patience and discipline, a fierce battle was about to unfold. As the first round developed, Bachkov's strategy slowly began to reveal itself. Rather than rushing forward recklessly, he applied constant pressure, inching closer step by step, and cutting off the ring with impressive control. His tight defensive guard made it difficult for Ndongeni to find clean targets. Every time the South African veteran attempted to launch an attack, Bachkov subtly slipped to the side, or blocked the punch with his forearms. Meanwhile, Bachkov's jab started to find its rhythm, snapping forward with sharp precision. Ndongeni attempted to maintain distance, circling around the ring, and occasionally firing quick combinations, to keep Bachkov honest. His experience was evident in the way he managed the pace, refusing to be drawn into wild exchanges. However, the Armenian fighter's forward momentum never stopped. Bachkov's style was not explosive but relentless, like a steady storm gradually closing in. His long arms allowed him to control space effectively, and each step forward forced Ndongeni to work harder than he wanted. Midway through the round, Bachkov mixed in his first body shots, digging a left hook into the ribs that drew a small reaction from Ndongeni. The veteran smiled briefly, acknowledging the punch, but also signaling that he could take it. Still, the crowd could hear the thud of leather hitting flesh, a sign that Bachkov's body attacks might become a key weapon as the fight progressed. By the end of the round, neither fighter had taken serious damage, but the momentum was subtly leaning toward the Armenian. His pressure, discipline, and control of the ring hinted that he intended to slowly wear his opponent down over time. The second round began with a noticeable increase in tempo. Bachkov stepped forward more confidently, sensing that he was beginning to dictate the rhythm of the fight. His jab continued to slice through the air, occasionally followed by a straight right hand aimed at Ndongeni's guard. The South African veteran responded with determination, throwing a crisp 1-2 combination that briefly forced Bachkov to reset his feet. For a moment, the crowd saw Ndongeni's experience shine, as he slipped a punch and landed a sharp counter left hook. The shot caught Bachkov's attention but did not stop his advance. Instead, the Armenian calmly resumed his pressure, gradually forcing Ndongeni toward the ropes. What made Bachkov dangerous was not just his offense, but his patience. He never rushed his punches, waiting for the right openings before firing compact combinations. A short right hand inside landed cleanly, followed by another punishing body shot that thudded into Ndongeni's midsection. The veteran continued to show resilience, answering with his own combinations and refusing to let the younger fighter dominate completely. The exchanges became more intense, as both men traded punches at close range. Yet Bachkov's pressure remained constant, his footwork cutting off escape routes, and slowly trapping Ndongeni in smaller areas of the ring. By the final seconds of the round, Bachkov unleashed a quick flurry, finishing with a sharp hook that snapped Ndongeni's head slightly to the side. The bell rang, and both fighters returned to their corners, breathing heavier, but still determined. The crowd sensed that the fight was beginning to heat up, with Bachkov's relentless forward movement gradually increasing the pressure on the experienced South African. The third round proved to be the most dramatic moment of the fight. Bachkov entered the round with renewed aggression, stepping forward with sharper punches and greater urgency. Ndongeni tried to meet him in the center of the ring, attempting to hold his ground and trade shots. At first, the exchanges were even, with both fighters landing solid punches. However, the momentum shifted suddenly, when Bachkov slipped a jab and fired a brutal uppercut that snapped Ndongeni's head backward. The crowd erupted as the Armenian followed up with a powerful right hand. Ndongeni staggered slightly, and for the first time in the fight, he looked vulnerable. Bachkov sensed the opportunity, and unleashed a relentless barrage of punches, hooks to the body, uppercuts to the chin, and straight rights rained down as Ndongeni struggled to defend himself. The ropes caught him as he tried to retreat, and the Armenian pressed forward like a predator closing in on wounded prey. For a tense moment, it seemed the fight might end right there. Ndongeni's legs trembled, and his corner stood anxiously, ready to throw in the towel if necessary. but the veteran refused to fall. With sheer determination, he tightened his guard and absorbed the storm of punches. Slowly he began to fire small counters, just enough to keep Bachkov from completely overwhelming him. The bell finally rang, saving Ndongeni from further punishment. As he walked back to his corner, the crowd applauded his courage. The round clearly belonged to Bachkov, but the South African's survival showed the heart of a true warrior. After the intense third round, the fight entered a new phase. Ndongeni returned for the fourth round, determined to prove he was still a threat. His movement became more active, as he circled the ring and threw more punches, to keep Bachkov from building momentum again. The Armenian, however, remained calm and composed. Rather than rushing in for another knockout attempt, he returned to his disciplined pressure. Step by step, he moved forward, using his jab to control distance, and waiting for opportunities to land power shots. Ndongeni had moments of success during the round, landing a few quick combinations that drew cheers from the crowd. Yet every time he tried to gain confidence, Bachkov responded with a heavy body shot or a sharp counter. The difference between the fighters was becoming clear. Ndongeni was relying on effort and experience, while Bachkov was executing a precise game plan. The Armenian's body attacks continued to chip away at his opponent's stamina, each punch landing with a dull, echoing sound. Despite the punishment, Ndongeni refused to retreat mentally. Whenever he felt trapped near the ropes, he fired combinations to fight his way out. His determination kept the fight competitive, even as Bachkov continued to accumulate points and momentum. By the end of the round, both fighters had shown their strengths, Bachkov with his technical pressure, and Ndongeni with his incredible toughness. The crowd respected the effort from both men, understanding they were witnessing a clash between youthful ambition and veteran resilience. As the fight moved into the middle rounds, Bachkov's dominance slowly became more visible. His punches were landing more frequently, and his control of the ring forced Ndongeni to constantly fight off the back foot. The Armenian's jab continued to function like a measuring stick, setting up combinations that mixed head and body attacks. A straight right hand pierced Ndongeni's guard, followed by a vicious left hook to the ribs that caused the veteran to grimace slightly. Even so, Ndongeni refused to surrender. He answered with quick flurries, trying to remind Bachkov that he still had fight left in him. The exchanges often took place at close range, where Bachkov's compact punches proved particularly effective. Short uppercuts and tight hooks traveled only inches but carried significant force. Each time the two fighters separated, Ndongeni looked slightly more fatigued. The accumulated body shots were slowly draining his energy. Yet the South African's courage remained unbroken. He kept throwing punches, even when they lacked the power to truly threaten Bachkov. The crowd admired his determination, knowing that many fighters would have already crumbled under such pressure. Bachkov, however, maintained his relentless pace, never allowing the veteran a moment to rest. His forward march was steady and calculated, a sign of a fighter confident in his ability to control the fight. By the end of these rounds, the Armenian's performance had begun to resemble a masterclass in pressure fighting. In the later rounds, the fight turned into a true test of endurance. Ndongeni's body showed signs of the punishment he had absorbed, but his spirit remained unbreakable. Each time Bachkov pressed forward with combinations, the South African answered with defiant counters. It was clear that he understood the scorecards were not in his favor, yet he continued to fight as though the victory was still within reach. Bachkov, meanwhile, fought with the confidence of a man in control. His punches were sharp and precise, landing with increasing frequency. A series of straight rights and body hooks forced Ndongeni against the ropes once again, and the Armenian unleashed another burst of offense. The veteran covered up and weathered the attack, once again demonstrating remarkable durability. The crowd responded with loud cheers, appreciating the courage of a fighter who refused to give up. Even as Bachkov continued to dominate the exchanges, Ndongeni's resilience prevented the fight from becoming one-sided. Every round contained moments where the South African pushed back, forcing Bachkov to remain alert. This constant resistance added drama to the contest, making each minute feel like a battle of wills. While the Armenian clearly had the upper hand, Ndongeni's refusal to break ensured that the fight remained compelling until the very end. As the final rounds approached, it became clear that the story of the fight belonged to Hovhannes Bachkov's relentless pressure and disciplined strategy. From the opening bell, he had controlled the pace, gradually increasing the intensity and forcing Ndongeni to fight at an exhausting tempo. His body attacks, sharp counters, and intelligent footwork had worn down the veteran over time. Yet the fight also highlighted the incredible heart of Xolisani Ndongeni. Despite facing a younger and stronger opponent, he never stopped trying to fight back. His determination earned the respect of everyone watching, from the fans in the arena to the commentators at ringside. In the closing moments of the bout, Bachkov continued to press forward, landing clean punches and demonstrating the skills that had made him one of the most promising fighters in the division. Ndongeni fought until the final bell, refusing to surrender, even as fatigue slowed his movements. When the fight ended, both men had delivered a memorable contest, filled with intensity, courage, and skill. For Bachkov, the performance represented another important step in his professional journey, proving that his amateur pedigree could translate into success in the pro ring. For Ndongeni, the fight was another example of the warrior spirit that had defined his long career. Together, they created a battle that showcased the beauty and brutality of boxing.